The most symptomatic challenge we face in our daily lives is trying to mentally bridge the gaps between our coexisting truths. There are dichotomies between which we exist and fluctuate. The things that unfold that we at once know and yet could not have possibly known, the things we understand without reason, the beliefs we adhere to without question. What logic shows and philosophy counters, what we immediately perceive ourselves to be and the nature in which we actually exist. There is no one truth greater than another, only perceptions more fitted to our awareness at various points in time. If we are never probed to consider what exists beneath the physical, how the physical exists because of it, we lose ourselves, ironically, in the idea that self is all there is, and that it, we, are defined by what we do, how we appear, and how other people perceive these things. Ironically, the idea of self mostly revolves around other people. This, above all else, may be the greatest coexisting truth we have to accept, that we at once can be impermanent and yet eternal, a duality in a single form, conscious and yet to different degrees, conscious of this to different degrees. When we only accept what we can physically perceive to be reality, we spend our time placing meaning on things that are ultimately meaningless and temporary. We remain feeling inadequate by comparison because our only gauge of worth is physical and therefore through one another. We define ourselves by titles and labels that are limiting and temporary. We end up pitted against others and more deeply against ourselves. This is what happens when we are too deeply bound to our mind's eye. This is the nature of the psyche designed for survival. But as a matter of modern course, wherein our physical needs are mostly sustained and survival is not our day-to-day concern, we no longer need to function at this level. This transcendence, however, requires a shift toward awareness and to something greater than whatever we are here. I know. I've had to bridge a few truths myself. I've had this story within me for my entire life. It is the truest truth that I can possibly share, but doing so requires an unprecedented vulnerability, one to which I wasn't too keen on opening up. I had confided my experiences in a few friends, my mother, a college advisor, my doctors, and now a coworker or two, but that was it until now. I would come to find through other writing, reading, and conversation that what I experienced as a kid wasn't abnormal, and the problem was more that we don't talk about these experiences despite how common they are. More importantly, we don't discuss them, though in the opinion of many, if not most people who experience them, myself included, they unveil a more pertinent universal truth, a secret to what we're seeking, an answer to the unanswerable, a pathway to a place of deeper purpose and an unprecedented peacefulness that we are all at some level reaching for. Though I knew this, I still resisted. I just wanted to be what other people saw me as, a student, sister, friend, lover, writer. But of course, we are not the sum of the titles other people use to define us, as much as we are not just the compilation of organs and blood and breath that we rest in physically. We are numerous truths existing at the same time. This is not a contradiction, this is nature. We exist by paradox and because of it. Nature can only be sustained through a cycle of creation and destruction. Likewise, we are at once a physical self and a metaphysical self existing as one. The latter is realized through the destruction of the former, or in some cases, a conscious transcendence. And such an experience, as I have found, leads us to the realization that we are an inner light enclosed in an outer shell, that the point of the journey is to understand that all things are ecstasy within, but they must be broken to be revealed. Anybody can look back at their lives and see how the things they once perceived to be the most tragic were actually the most crucial, the most valued. The turning points, the miracles, the awakenings. What we all find eventually is that the things we find and discover are not sought outside of us. They are what we reveal, uncover, and are reminded of through a specific process that's outside of our control and yet at the same time suited for our needs perfectly. The truest freedom is in realizing that your physical self is an illusion, a temporary experience for an eternal being to grow through. You are not the thought, you are what hears the thought. You are not the feeling, you are what is revealed through the feeling. The concept that we're separate is just another mechanism of the mind. We're at once deeply different but bound by the same nature. The same as each other, the same as the universe, the same as the maps that show us riverways and paths from a distance, much like our wrists show us the same pattern of our veins from close up.